Good afternoon, everybody. It's Lorraine, Alternative Homesteading. I hope everybody's doing well on this Veterans Day, Memorial Day, not Veterans Day, Memorial Day weekend. I can't believe it's May 25. Usually Memorial Day, if I remember correctly, is almost always like around the 30th or the 31st, so it just seems really unusual. I guess they had to move it to a weekend. But anyway, let's see. I want to bring your attention to 3 posts that I made on the main page. I labeled it Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. This is a woman on Quora who responded to one of my posts from a year ago. And I asked her how she knew this stuff, and then she responded again today, so I'll get to that. I've got some fun sex stuff to talk to you about. Yes. And your ears perked up. All the little criminals around here perked up. You know what they did this morning? I walked to my gate to open it, come back, and there's this huge black bug sitting on top of my turmeric that was not there before. So evidently some loser came in here, thought it would be so much fun to drop this big black bug in our turmeric. Yeah, they love their bugs. The 3 Masons, they love their bugs. You know what they love more than bugs? Creeping vines. When it comes to real estate property mobbing, they like to plant vines that creep all over the place, creep underneath your buildings. They really like Creeping Charlie. I wonder if one of them is named Charlie. Maybe these are just signs that I'm too stupid to get, right? So yes, they plant Creeping Charlie everywhere, and you've got to pull it out, which is a real pain in the butt. Any of you people know what Creeping Charlie is? Please hit the thumbs up. But anyway, I want to read a little bit. I mean, there's not a lot of it that I can read. The Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. She says, listen up, fellow targeted people. This is going to be a long one, but it's a must read. I have been blocked many times by police, judicial services regarding this information. If you find something similar in your life, know that it is part of the targeting process. Many people think of God as being this vengeful deity because of destroying full nations because of their depravity of life. We weren't there, so by our thinking, it can only be speculative. However, we do have a full example in our time to compare them to. Anytime you have a full ranking government that, on a regular basis, turns their backs on extremely depraved and ludicrous sexual acts, especially when the culprits are rich, so to get away with what they're doing, you can get an inkling of what God saw in those other nations. Many don't see the comparison to those other nations. Well, let's shed a little light on the subject. At one time, there was a tiny glimpse of justice when the MK Ultra was condemned by the U.S. However, the government resumed their atrocities. So for a second time, they had to shut down this process. But there's the thing. They were told to destroy all the paperwork and processes of the program. Come on, guys. Why would anyone think that the U.S. would actually do something this stupid? Also, while they demanded the government to cease, they did not follow through with destroying the contracts of the governmental agencies that were used to facilitate those same atrocities. So the Homeland Security, which I consider Homeland Security is an oxymoron, Homeland Security reestablished the practices. And you have to remember that it was all done in a secretive contract, and now the different agencies are still attached to the same practices that were established before. And you know who the Homeland Security is in bed with? Fusion centers. Fusion centers. They send those operatives to spread the slanderous lies about the target in the community. Probably like what they did to Dr. Rebecca Caleb Wilson, who I called for the first time to get a vet appointment They kept hanging up on me, but then I finally got it that they were actually hanging up on me. I thought it was unintentional. I thought it was just accidental. And then I realized they were really hanging up on me. They wouldn't give me an appointment because I'm not friends with her friends or some stupid thing like that. Anyway, yeah, so there was already slander afoot. How would somebody not give me an appointment at a veterinarian's office when she knew nothing about me? And when I told her that cats were being dumped on the property? Obviously, somebody got to her before I called. Yeah. So, that's just one of the other people that will be on the list of people when I file my big complaint. Because obviously, she's in the know. Somebody told her something about me, a libelous, slanderous defamation of character. Right. And you know what? If you can't sue the coppers, you can definitely sue for libel and defamation, because everything that they've said about us is false, false, false. And obviously, we can prove it, and they can't. So, targeted people were then established as delusional by Homeland Security and the fusion centers and the GOV. So how do they do that? Well, the government found an easy, efficient, and inexpensive sort of way to implant devices to alter personalities, make them hear voices, and have it be done to an individual without their knowledge. The way it was done was so invasive that both the victim and the agency that processed the work, remember that terminology, the agency that processed the work, the agency that processed the work became oblivious as to what was being done. How? You might ask. It was being done right in front of your faces. Remember the CEO that was falsely killed due to issues that dealt with anesthesiology? I promise I'm going to get back to the point. Well, let's just think about this situation. Everyone was given the impression that the insurance companies were blatantly going to reduce needed anesthesia because of monetary reasons. Consider this setting. A person, they're under the knife and they begin to wake up. I'm sure that happens sometimes, right? There are several quote unquote doctors and nurses in the room, right? Everybody sees what's going on. There might even be trainees present. What law can the doctor rely on that is going to allow him to, 1, continue the operation without more anesthesia, 2, end the procedure because of the inability of the patient to pay? Well, obviously, neither of those situations are viable, right? So since more anesthesia is needed, and quickly, it is automatically given. The insurance companies would just have to deal with it later. Since this is the obvious scenario, what is the real problem? Well, remember those Homeland Security contracts? Remember those Homeland Security contracts. By this time, they have existed for quite a long time, but now with the existence of what is called, quote unquote, traveling anesthesiologists, they also have traveling radiologists. These doctors get exorbitant monetary and accolades of benefits, well into the thousands of dollars on each victim. Then they travel to the victims' homes, along with the company's agent, to complete the insertion of the devices. This is for educational purposes only. This is fictional. I'm just reading a whole bunch of fictional fiction. It is these anesthesia processes that are inflating the anesthesia benefits. However, the hospitals still are under the same Homeland Security contract, and so they cannot expose the discrepancy. So then you have the medical helpers conducting the illegal insertion of devices, and the government really being the culprit, not the killed CEO. Targeted people are especially directed into mental institutions because of their seemingly unprovable accusations. So now more regarding the medical part on this later. Now, I had to cut this up into part 1, 2, and 3 on the home page under the post because I reached the limit on what could be added on a post. So now this is post number 2. Another area of disrepute comes in the area of falsely separating parents from children. Oh, this makes me nuts, guys. I can't, this really bothers me. It has been reported by many targeted parents that their children have been falsely taken from them and placed with suspicious homes, where the children were being sexual abused due to the continued targeting and the rampant pedo blah blah blah, especially within the governmental agencies. And these complaints go undisclosed. So what they're doing is they're stealing children away from loving parents and giving them to suspicious and sexually abusive homes. This is disgusting. And let's not forget the aspect of the absence of police protection. For a targeted person, this does not exist. The police have been known to completely rewrite the contents of the complaint to shield the attacker. Oh, that never happens here in Jackson County, Kentucky. I can't even get a report on the dead animal that was left on my property, the guts, the heart, the liver, or the blood that was dripping down my mailbox. Or what about the dildo? Well, we're gonna get to the dildo later. Yes, because, you know, maybe it was another message, okay? But all the stuff that gets stuffed in my mailbox, right? They do it to a 60-something-year-old woman. How sick and perverted is that? Go stuff this shit down the block to the perpetrators, down, you know, the Bow Wow family. That Bow Wow family, you know, the Bow Wow family. And thank you, subscriber, for renaming the poopy nurse to the Bow Wow family. The Bow Wow family. Right, so anyway, let's get back to this. So, the police have been known to completely rewrite the contents of the complaint to shield the attacker or the perpetrator, the real person that's doing the damage, which means that they're complicit. So when one is the targeted person, they're blocked from all court cases because if they can get one, then they can't get an attorney. Why? Because they automatically assume that the person's crazy or they don't have enough proof of how their accusations can be proven. Sexual trafficking exists within the police and judicial arenas. Well, that's already been proven in Lecter County. If anybody had followed that the sheriff shot the judge in his chambers while being recorded. I mean, insanity, depraved, ridiculous. But after that, a lot of women came forward who were being literally illegally detained for sexual favors. So yes, it does happen. You know, it does happen. It happened in Lecter County. And fortunately, Brian Eaton spoke about it. There were a lot of YouTube creators that were talking about that case. So now let's go to the subject of dwellings. And this one gets a little dicey for me. I did not enjoy reading this portion. When you're targeted, your handlers will not allow you to move. When you are targeted, your handlers will not allow you to move into a regular apartment or house. Their whole goal is to have you in a totally vulnerable situation. And I'll tell you as a fact that after I finally sold my house at 52 Sutton Drive, Manalapan, New Jersey, Monmouth County, a home I lived in for 30 years as original owner, 07726, all of the houses I had bookmarked had either disappeared, were under contract, or sold. This is not a place I had ever considered looking to purchase. I never researched it. It just suddenly popped up in my feed. And I did want land. I did want a farm. I did want like no restrictions on moving animals. You know, I wanted all of those things. And I ended up here. It was within my price range. And I ended up moving here, not having a place to live, and having a mobile home trailer that I had to tear down before I could actually live there, which I could not do. Which is why I'm living exactly where I'm living now, which I should not have been living here. I should have been living at the top of the hill. So their whole goal is to have you in a totally vulnerable situation. You will only get a dwelling that seems very inviting, and this did seem very inviting, but will be just within your wage and will end up outpricing you in some manner. Oh, that's a fact. I paid $125 for this 64 acres of land, but I had no place to live. So I had to buy a house for $90,000. Before it got finished with, it would cost $125. So my house was $125 on top of it. I spent $90,000, was it 90 or whatever $1,000 on the Cats building. And then after I completed it, it cost more than that. I spent like $25,000 on a shed, another $3,000 or $4,000 on a chicken coop. The road that I put in here, the gravel driveway, cost me about $4,000. Another $4,000 for the septic. And then to clean up the property over 2 years, I probably spent, oh my goodness, I probably spent $40,000 cleaning up the property. So yeah, so it was just inviting, but it cost me another $300,000-$400,000 just to live here, and then paying almost $1,000 a month to cut the grass. I paid the highest internet bills without a landline. When I lived in New Jersey, I had a landline. I was paying less money for internet and a landline in New Jersey than here. And I don't have a landline. My electric bill is higher here than it's ever been for a 5-bedroom house with central air and heating. I kid you not. My electric bill is much higher here than in New Jersey. I used to get double-digit invoices in New Jersey for electric. Here, it's triple. It's always triple digits. Water here, it rains like nutso here. We've got more water than the dam. In New Jersey, my water bill was half the amount of money as it is here. And again, I had a 5-bedroom house with 3 bathrooms. Costs much more here. This place is a money pit. Like my daughter said, you bought a money pit. She was right. There are cases where if a targeted person gets to realize what's being done to him and is about to expose those effers, the effers will tell the victim, brain to computer wise, that they're on a kill list. Well, we already know that we're all on some kind of kill list. Yeah. The stalkers might even tell them how it's going to happen. You want some examples? What about Isaac Cappy? What about those scientists working for the government? What about Princess Diana and the others? They not only use this aspect, but very often they will use auto accidents. I'm convinced that's what they did to my boss, Linda Trott of Trott Realty. Linda Trott Realty was her own standalone realtor business in Manalapan, New Jersey, and she was top-notch. I was her assistant, and I helped her run the office. I was her personal assistant. I did her website. I read her mail. I set up all the appointments and stuff. And lo and behold, I get a phone call in the middle of the night. I'm in bed. Like, are you asleep? Well, I was asleep. Did you hear what happened? No, I did not hear what happened. Linda was killed in an auto accident on her way home from the doctor's office with her husband on the interstate. It just happened that, allegedly, a trucker fell asleep at the wheel and rammed into them dead on impact. How many of these accidents are set up? How many? Look at what happened to Karen Romero, targeted nurse. Oh, and by the way, her testimony is on my channel in several sections that I read her testimony, which was so long. And After she passed away, I decided to read her testimony so that everybody would know that, yes, she encountered nurses and stuff like that in the hospitals because she was a nurse where she, where she would work. And they're basically FBI agents that are implanted there to be a nurse or whatever. I kid you not. She would not lie. She would not lie about anything like that. The reason I mention is because in 1 year, Karen Romero had 3 auto accidents, none of which were her fault. And unfortunately, she's not around to tell the story or all the details. But yes, so is that normal? I don't see that as being normal. Who has 3 car accidents in 1 year? The last where her auto was completely totaled. I mean, this is a woman. She's very careful. Somebody plowed into her. It was intentional. So yeah, well, thank you, this person from Quora. I'm not going to mention her name. I don't know if she wants her name mentioned, but let's continue, because there's more to this lovely story. They will often use auto accidents, most extremely fast car accidents. So how is this facilitated? They can do it remotely through your entertainment section through an NPX coding. I don't know what that is. I didn't look it up. I'm merely reading something. I can't confirm or deny what it is. There is a way to find out what happened, but the insurance companies never use it. It's called EDR. Mark this down, targeted people. Give it to your families if you ever get into a car accident. It's called EDR, where it's the vehicle version of the airplane black box. Of course, Homeland Security does not want the pattern of these supposed fast-riding car crashes to be exposed. Now for the other aspect of the process, medically speaking, and this is for educational purposes only. I'm merely reading a commentary. Not medical advice. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a medical anything. Just as in the original MK Ultra example, well, the pharmaceutical sector plays an extremely large role in this scenario. Don't get me started on the pharmaceutical company, because I will go berserko. I will go berserko. Nowadays, everyone thinks that the pharmaceutical sector gets all of its money from overpricing meds. Oh, no. While this is partially true, it's not the full story. Just as LSD was used for mental and sexual depravity within the MK Ultra situation, the pharmaceutical sector helps Homeland Security these days. Oh, I guess the Homeland is in bed with somebody else. Oh my goodness. Wow. Talk about the gift card whores. Okay. Homeland Security is in bed with the pharmaceutical sector, driving the targeted victim into insanity. First, let's look at a well-documented example. Let's just say that a prescription for a psychosomatic problem was invented and passed the FDA for use. When the time expires for the drug, the pharmaceutical sector does not leave it as it is because the cost would naturally be reduced. What they then do, they repackage that same psychosomatic drug for something else. One would think that the repackaging would relate to something that is in the same category. Nope. No. It could be a repackage for any reason. No, you could be taking a repackage under a different name. This alleged psychosomatic drug for something as common as premenstrual cramps. Wow. So let me scroll down and get some more here. Second, when you're a targeted person, you are given to doctors that are under the same contract of the Homeland Security contract. In fact, you will always be seen after your primary doctor with a supervisory doctor who really is a government agent And if you are under secret medical testing, a supervision agent will be in the occupation of the medical company directing the testing, which will be completely different hospitalization sector. And that confirms what Karen Romero, targeted individual nurse, wrote and testified in her testimony that's on my channel. These very same drugs will put you in a position of illicit sex actions. Wow. But more importantly, those compound drugs will connect to the secret audio sensories that were inserted in you to aid in the hearing with your stalkers. By the way, a lot of targeted individuals know that their audio sensory sections are connected to literally hundreds of other outside people, which is why you can't run or move far away enough to get away from them. The most important part about how the medical aspect directs the actions of their victims comes in the form of two categories. The BCI, brain to computer interface, this is real. And the leading company the government is using regarding this is Synchron, Synchron. And Synchron's choice of insurance is Anthem, Anthem. Synchron BCI is noted to be able to move limbs and other features supposedly on patients who no longer have that capacity. This has been coupled with other products of the program of sexual assaults on unsuspecting victims. The victims neither know about it nor want it. But others who are hooked up to the victim's brain, and there could be hundreds, can force acts that the victim normally would not do. Do you hear that? Through technology, forcing the victim to do something they wouldn't normally do. I wonder if that has anything to do with all those kiddos out there that are deleting their parents. Inquiring minds want to know. I have several times, now this is her speaking, had uncommanded by me, had the attempts of my legs being lifted. The second part, which is used in conjunction with the Synchron BCI, is JAK-STAT, JAK-STAT signaling. I'm hearing about this for the first time. I've heard about BCI, but I've never heard of JAK-STAT, and I haven't performed any research on this at all. It is this program which is really used for biotesting of DNA regarding cancer, which when connected to Synchron allows outsiders into the program. This program is listed as a sexual assault human drone game. The outcome of the stalker's own fantasies with the victim happen while the victim is unconscious and unknowing. The signaling apparatus could be anything that's outside of the victim's body. It could even be the sound of a refrigerator motor. The victim's own phone is coded so that even if the phone is turned off, it can be remotely turned on. Oh, that's happened to me hundreds of times. Even inside of a Faraday bag, I have had a turned off phone, fully charged, on airplane mode, in a Faraday bag. I pick it up, open it up, it's turned on at 0 charging. I kid you not. So the victim's own phone is coded. In order for this to work, there has to be a dedicated remote control. This is done medically. The process is called PRM, Patient Remote Monitoring. This can be unsuspectingly set up if the person has, for example, a medical problem such as high blood pressure, where the victim needs to make daily calculations regarding their tests. When they make a test, it's automatically sent to the medical institution. This process can be manipulated by anyone who gets the codes. They can change your stats. They can change anything. This is another thing that Kim Straub, targeted person, may she rest in peace, also a nurse, Karen Romero, rest in peace, nurse, said that they do. Used to be where you had manual paper keeping track of patients, and then you had a system, and people would go in there and change stuff or not add stuff. You never know what's on your medical record. It can be fake stuff. So another aspect is the medication itself. In order for JAK start signaling to work, specific biocompounds need to be present. These compounds can be added by any medication. One known company that supplies these types of medicines are called MCE, Med Chem Express, MED CHEM Express, all one word. If the victim goes to the hospital on a suspected anomaly, they might be put in the MCE section of the testing hospital. Sometimes the medication vial will have the initials MCE on the vial, even though the medication will have the same pill number on it and the same coloring. The fact is that it has MCE on the vial. It tells you that it's a compound med. University of Davis is one such hospital that has the MCE section. I wonder if that's what they did to my mother when they killed her. Part 3, I'm sorry. Now, how does this work? First is that illegal insertion. It's done so they can talk to the victim without being heard. If the victim is too close to exposing them, they will initiate the process of elimination. I guess that's what we're doing here. The victim more likely was previously acting normal before they got their death sentence. And when this happened, they became very distraught and aloof. However, since they knew that their eventual outcome would be, they openly told others, if they were portrayed as committing suicide, to not believe it. And in most of these cases, and in both the entertainment world, as well as with the government scientists, the victims had to sign a DNR. No, this is not the do not resuscitate. It has to do with the body not being disposed of by the family. I want my family to dispose of my body. I'm going to say it out loud. First of all, I would never kill myself. I will never kill anybody else. I'm not suicidal. I want to expose every one of these last efforts here. And you better let me sell my property this year. Otherwise, I will be filing a federal lawsuit. And I will name all of your names. All of them. And you will all have to get your own effing lawyers. No. The county lawyer will not be representing you. I will make sure of it. This has nothing to do with do not resuscitate. It has to do with the body being disposed of by the family. No, everybody, and you know what, guys? You need to, everybody needs to have like a living will now. That to allow your family to dispose of your body. And that could be burial. So that in the future, when this is all exposed, that you could be exhumed and retested, and then your siblings, your progeny can collect all the money that the government owes them. It has to do with the body not being disposed of by the family. Why would this be important? Because once a pattern of specific BCI insertions are observed, especially in those who forewarned that they would not commit suicide, the obvious conclusion would be directed to the government and or the scientific world and initiate great suspicion. What is needed is the industry to conduct the removal of the body, which in most cases involves cremation so that no evidence is available. The information given in this note is just an inkling of what is happening. So how does this relate to the subject? When you think of thousands of targeted people, dead scientists, dead entertainers, missing and dead children through the pedo incidents, this paints a pretty gruesome picture. And let's not even talk about the demonic Epstein sexual depravity and accusations about other things that I can't say, and the pagan god worshipping. And when you think of the gross lack of compassion and justice to the ones that had to go through all of this, to say nothing about how badly some think about God, the system we live in has no right to compare God's destruction of those cities to what humans today are doing to each other. Can you really think that the world today deserves to keep going? So I sent her a message and I said, well, how do you know all this? You know, I'm not going to take everything at face value, right? So she says, well, I became aware of what was happening to me when I read the third letter of Myron May. Remember Myron May, the attorney? Targeted person. I have his testimony on the channel too. He explained everything that was happening to me and gave me the background of how the government was behind all of it. Through the years, I have uncovered the various layers of the onion that pertains to the MK Ultra aspects that were being done on me. I got verifiable reactions from my stalkers because, you know, they love to let you know that, to make you angry, when I did things that angered them and made them do things in retaliation. They have successfully blocked all of my attempts to go to court, so I decided to let all the agencies, medical, civil, Medicare, Medicaid, know what they're doing, including illegal DNA testing and how they were going about it, how they infuse the ability to talk into their victims without anyone hearing, and how they make people do things that they normally wouldn't do. Hopefully someone will notice it and will be willing to work with me against the government. This is a woman. I'm not talking about me. It might interest people to know how widespread this situation is. The tactics they use on celebrities who wanted to expose the entertainment world. Look at what they did to Michael Jackson. Right? What they did to Michael Jackson. Prince. Robin Williams. Yeah. Oh, there are other celebrities. I won't go into it because I get flack from people saying, "Oh no, that was just a that." No. When you know the big picture, no. These were staged accidents. It might interest people to know how widespread the situation is, the tactics they use on both celebrities who wanted to expose the entertainment world about the atrocities being done to children, and the mysterious missing dead scientists who wanted to expose the government are the same tactics they use on us, especially on the ones who said that they would never kill themselves, but end up looking like they did. The culprits are using the same tactics on them that they're using on us. And that was her response to me. I did respond to her and have not received a response back on that. But let's segue into sex. Let's talk about some sex, guys. Okay. Now, before she published this, she gave me the information, but I was hit really hard yesterday, and I lost several hours of time because I had a massive headache that came out of nowhere. So now this is from the TargetedHumans.org. This is her research. The technology behind virtual rape. And again, this is for educational purposes only. What is haptic? Haptic technology. Some individuals in the targeted community describe experience haptic rape, or forced sexual sensations which they attribute to non-consensual remote neural monitoring, direct energy weapons, or electromagnetic manipulation. This is a good example of where it is important to know the exact technology being used to torture a target, which gives a target's testimony more credibility. If you are experiencing electronic or virtual rape, this may be the technology. It's called haptic, also known as kinesthetic communication or 3D touch. This technology really exists. it can create an experience of touch by applying forces, vibrations, or motions to the user. These technologies can be used to feel virtual subjects and events on a computer simulation, to control virtual objects, and to enhance remote control of machines and devices. Telerobotics. Haptic devices may incorporate tactile sensors that measure forces exerted by the user on the interface, and you are the interface. The word haptic is from the Greek word haptikos, meaning tactile, pertaining to the sense of touch. Haptic technology facilitates investigation on how human sense of touch works by allowing the creation of controlled haptic virtual subjects. Oh my goodness, you know. The intels are going to go berserko with this stuff, right? Vibrations and other tactile cues have also become the integral part of mobile user experience and interface design. Most researchers distinguish three sensory systems related to the sense of touch in humans: cutaneous, kinesthetics, and haptic. All perceptions mediated by cutaneous and kinesthetic sensibilities are referred to as tactual perception. The sense of touch may be classified as passive and active, and the term haptic is often associated with active touch to communicate or recognize objects. So what are these sensory substitutions? I'm getting to the good part, guys. I really am. Sound substitution. In December 2015, David Engelman demonstrated a wearable vest that translates speech and other audio signals into a series of vibrations. This allows hearing impaired people to feel sounds on the body. It has since been made commercially a wristband. Then there are tactile electronic displays. A tactile electronic display is a display device that delivers text and graphical information using a sense of touch. Devices of this kind have been developed to assist the blind or the deaf users by providing an alternative to visual or auditory sensation. And these are good applications of the technology. Okay? So now we're getting to the good part. Okay? Listen in, folks. TeleDILDOnics. TeleDILDOnics. Haptic feedback is used within TeleDILDOnics. This is sex technology. In order to remotely connect sex toys and allow users to engage in virtual sex, or allow remote server to control their sex toy. The term was first coined by Ted Nelson in 1975. Yikes. When discussing the future of love, intimacy, and technology, I don't, honestly, guys, love, intimacy, and technology do not come, they don't formulate in my mind's eye when I think about love and intimacy. I do not consider these as part of the love experience. That's because I'm old school. Okay. In recent years, TeleDILDOnics and sex technology have expanded to include toys with two-way connection that allows virtual sex through communication of vibrations, pressures, and sensations. Many smart vibrators, oh my goodness, allow for a one-way connection either between the user or a remote partner to allow control of the toy. So what is remote haptic technology? Well, remote haptic technology and immersive virtual environments have introduced the complex issue of virtual grape. GRAPE. You get what I'm saying, guys? Where users experience non-consensual sexual simulations through haptic suits, or TeleDILDOnics that mimic physical touch. While these technologies are primarily designed for entertainment or therapy, their ability to bridge the gap between digital and physical sensations has raised significant legal and ethical concerns regarding digital consent and trauma. Technological facilitation. Oh my goodness. You know what? I think I'm going to go back. I think, I had 2 judges tell me that I should have been a lawyer. I think now, I think maybe now would be the time to study up a little law regarding ethics and legal concerns regarding TeleDILDOnics. What do you think, guys? We'll need to do a little research into this TeleDILDOnics. The lawyers will be back in business. Haptic suits and wearables. Devices like full body haptic suits use vibrations and sensors to allow users to feel digital interactions. The immersion can make virtual assaults feel real, leading to significant psychological distress. TeleDILDOnics, internet-enabled haptic sex toys, can be remotely controlled. Legal scholars have raised concerns about grape by deception. I think that should be a new legal concept. Grape by deception. Or unauthorized access, where these devices are manipulated without the user's consent. And the metaverse. Platforms like Meta's Horizon Worlds have seen reported incidents where avatars are being subjected to virtual gang rape, illustrating how social VR can facilitate non-consensual interactions even without full-body haptics. So then there are digital haptics without the toys. Okay, so here we go. Now we're getting to the smart devices, right? Don't buy anything smart. I mean, I do have a smartphone. We got to get back to dumb devices. If you're referring to using everyday digital devices instead of dedicated sex toys, haptics can be experienced through smartphone vibrations. Standard phone, not mine is too old. Standard phone vibration motors can be used for rhythmic pulses or continuous vibrations. Wearable technology, like devices like the Apple Watch or Hey bracelets, can send tactile taps or vibrations remotely between users, which can be used to stimulate an intimate connection, or in negative contexts, exert unwanted physical attention. What about those gamers? Gaming controllers. Modern controllers like the PS5 DualSense use sophisticated haptic feedback to stimulate textures and impacts that can be felt in the hands or lap. Oh, so you can have a virtual lap dance, guys. You can have your virtual lap dance. There's no reason for those incels to ever have a girlfriend now. When toys are absent, pleasure or physical interaction is achieved through direct manual stimulation or biological haptics. They can pretend to use fingers or palms to rub, press, or stroke sensitive areas, just like other parts of the female body. Indirect grinding, using friction against a partner's body like the leg or the hand, or using house objects like pillows or blankets. Or how about hydro haptics, utilizing water pressure from a shower head to provide intense hands-free tactile. What about the risks and misuse? Well, there's digital harassment. Come on, what about those cyber stalkers? Oh my God, if this gets to the hands of those cyber stalkers, oh my goodness. Digital harassment, sending incessant unwanted vibrations or touches to someone's wearable device. Increased intensity of virtual violence in gaming. Haptic feedback can make violent or graphic virtual experiences feel physically authentic, potentially leading to increased fear or trauma. So then there are all these legal and ethical challenges. There's consent manual, the psychological impact, the jurisdictional hurdles. Because the metaverse and the digital platforms transcend physical borders, prosecuting these crimes is difficult as legal frameworks are currently tied to geographical locations. So I'm going to end here on that note. We're up to 50 minutes. Leave a comment down below. So, for all the targeted people out there, stay strong. You are not alone. You're not crazy. You're not schizophrenic. You're not imagining it. You're not imagining it. Oh, and nobody who was in the live chat Saturday night imagined the bomb going off on my property. The grenade. The flash grenade. Is that what they call it? A flash grenade? That is the 5th time. And fortunately, guys, I am so fortunate that some of you guys decided to reach out to public officials on my behalf. Thank you. And anybody out there who will write on behalf of me to any of your local politicians about what's going on here in rural Kentucky, you have my consent to use any of my mailbox videos, what's in the mailbox videos, you know, the dead animals, the dildo. You have my permission to use those videos. You have my permission to use any of the explosion and grenade videos to send to any politician. And please name Jackson County, Kentucky. And you may use my full name to say that I am the victim of these attacks. Okay? Please be polite. Be respectful. Do not mention my YouTube channel as being me. You can mention my background. But just know that you can also say that I am a senior citizen. And these are civil rights violations. So yes, so I appreciate at least 3 people that I'm aware of have contacted their public officials on my behalf, and I contacted an attorney. So no, I am not going to let this slide. I am not suicidal. I'm angry as hell. And see the thing, when I get angry, I get busy. I get real busy. And even though they're screwing up on my technology, they're harming my animals, another kitten was dead yesterday because they harmed the kitten's eyes. These were all healthy kittens. They're all ending up dead. They're experimenting on them. There is something that they have put into that cat's building where all of my cat's eyes are weeping. There's absolutely no reason for this to be happening. So yes, you have my full permission to share the explosion videos. You can search for the word explosion. You can search for the word mailbox. Oh, you can also search for the word trash to show all the videos of the trash that was dumped on my property. Garbage, trash. Yes, you can share any of those videos. You have my permission. And thank you for those who have. Thank you for those people who are concerned. Thank you for those who have done the legal research on my behalf to let me know what the legal codes were for what they've been doing here. Because I don't always have the time. I'm targeted just as you are. And I've got a lot of responsibility here, a lot of animals. I've got to list my house for sale. And these are all distractions so that my house is not listed. But I guarantee I will be moving this year. I know I said it last year, but I will make sure that these criminals, do not get this land, do not get this property. And for you F-Masons around here, stop leaving your goddamn symbols all over the place, okay? I don't want to see your symbols. I don't want to see your bugs. I don't want to see your creeping Charlie, your creeping Jane, your creepy creepies. I don't want to see it. Go back to the pit hole where you belong. Go back to Satan. Go back to Lucifer. Lucifer and Satan, they're not welcome here. I rebuke you guys in the name of Jesus Christ and the Master of the universe, who is not Satan and is not Lucifer and does not control this property or me. So on that wonderful note, I hope everybody's having a good day off, and thank you to all the veterans out there that served this country, that fought for this country. And for all of you homeless veterans, you are not alone, and you do not deserve what is happening to you. And never give up, because we all got your back.